I think James Gunn knew exactly what he was doing with this episode. Welcome back to a brand new Peacemaker review, guys, recap and breakdown. This is for the penultimate episode of the first season, which is, you know, I'm kind of sad to say because I do not want to see this show go, but undoubtedly my confidence is through the roof that we're going to be getting a season 2 to this. But this episode, I want to say, and I think I've said this a couple of times before, this might have been or is my favorite episode, but like this really was. This episode was not only like action-packed and had a whole bunch of really awesome moments in there, you know, with like the White Dragon fights with Peacemaker, Vigilante just going ham and whatnot, but it hit with such emotional depth at the same time. One thing that I always repeat in my videos when it comes to shows like this is that my favorite cocktail of show, just like Doom Patrol, or, you know, you could say things like The Boys or whatnot, the same with Peacemaker, but James Gunn really tackles it because I think by now as a director we all know how his brain works with his works, so to speak, is that with delivering such comedy, hilarious, absolute wacky moments that could almost make you laugh to the point of where you weep, his episodes, and especially this one, is woven with such emotional substance there, and I can't emphasize that enough. And this episode, with obviously all the development and subtle context we've been teased with up until this point, with Peacemaker, his father, the flashbacks to his brother, goddamn, it hit hard. So go ahead, guys, like this video only if you do go on to enjoy it. Subscribe, maybe check if you're subscribed, if you think you're subscribed, because some people think they are, but YouTube's really just recommending the videos, which, hey, is pretty awesome. But hey, maybe subscribe, and let's get into this. So, talking of what I was just speaking about, the episode began with what I was kind of thinking would happen. If you guys have been watching me week to week, I was like, I feel like we're going to get even more context to Peacemaker and his brother Keith fighting. And this really, you know, just kind of, we already had the nail in place. It was already hammered in, to be honest. But now James Gunn got the hammer again, a larger hammer, and just went bang, 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 with making me feel the way I did. We picked up with a younger Peacemaker, Chris, if you will, with his brother Keith, just kind of bonding, jamming out over records. You know, it's nice how you can kind of translate that to present day, if you will, with the rocking on with Vigilante and Peacemaker. But here, you could tell, like, these brothers were really kind of close. And it's also so tragic with the way they're raised, because even when the scum of the earth father that they have, White Dragon, was taking bets, you know, for who would win in a fist fight between his kids, is just, it's the kind of thing I don't really want to comprehend for too long, because it borderline makes me angry. Even then, like, these two kids, they're not like at odds with one another when they're fighting. I think that's the thing that really hit me as well. The way they've kind of been brought up. Arguably, I kind of like how they're not really like their dad, but when they go into that, I think for them, there's no hard feelings involved. Clearly, they're, if anything, kind of probably wanting to make their dad happy. They're being encouraged by all of these adults, you know, so you can only just imagine psychoanalytically what's going on there in their minds. And again, they love each other so much that there's no like hard feelings by the sounds of it, because they were smiling at each other. It's like, yeah, who's going to win this week? Maybe they give each other tips each week on how, maybe this is why I won last week, but maybe you'll win next week. But there was so much nuance there that I got just from those smiles when they're even fighting, that it just made me feel so bad for them, amongst everything that was already making me feel bad in this moment. And obviously it ended up with the way it ended up. Chris, Peacemaker, got a good kind of right hook or whatever, and unfortunately with the way that connected with his temple, and this can happen, this is why sports like boxing and whatnot can be extremely dangerous. I don't really need to say this to all of you, but it can literally disjoint something in your brain, maybe cause some weird aneurysm or whatever, and you can die, or at the very least get brain damage. So what a heartbreaking moment. And for Peacemaker's father to just say, you know, you piece of shit or whatever, you killed him and stuff. How that translated into present day with John Cena, you know, crying. This is something that's been haunting him this entire time. As we know, it's been very fleetingly weaved throughout the episodes and various scenes, but this is the episode where they decided to lay it on thick, and they certainly did that. I was very impressed. I mean, we'll talk about this a bit later, especially with the scenes we get right at the end. But the scenes with John Cena just looking in the mirror here, he's very much so pleasantly surprised me. I've not really grown up so much with John Cena like a lot of other people have. I enjoyed him in the Suicide Squad, this, that, and the other. But I'm so very happy and pleasantly surprised. Well, it's not even pleasantly surprised. I just had no expectations, I guess. I'm very happy to say that his acting skills were really, really good. Really, really, really good. When we're picking up with Vigilante and Peacemaker as well, he puts it together that Adebayo, Leota, if you will, did kind of planting that diary. He's already figured that out. But here, he obviously feels really, really betrayed by Leota. Of course, in between all of these scenes, the comedy is still very much so there. Vigilante's like, oh, I thought you didn't keep a diary. And then John comes in, I thought you didn't keep a diary. And you have Peacemaker saying, did you see that thing? Like, it looked like it fell out of my vagina kind of thing. Or like, if I was, you know, going to do something, would I really be collaging Jupiter and aliens and shit? But as we all know, I was reading too deep into the diary last episode. I was thinking, is Waller trying to make something of Peacemaker? But obviously, I was overlooking the simple one. And that is simply that the diary was to be placed when the job was done, that all of those, the body count and everything like that could be put on somebody, and that is obviously the person with a history of instability and violence and whatnot, Peacemaker. But yeah, Amanda Waller was indeed being frickin' Waller. But hey, I mean, Vigilante's takeaway about collaging with, you know, let's just say me condensing this down into a more appropriate way with chicks around dolphins. The stuff in this episode, I think this is why it was my favorite. It really was the peak of the comedy, the peak of the emotions, the peak of all the jokes, in my personal opinion, out of all of the other ones that we've had such enjoyment with in all the previous episodes. In this one, they were firing on all cylinders at all times. So, yeah, just fantastic. Again, I was on about the big development of Harcourt. I love how tenacious and ferocious, I guess she was, with defending her newfound friend. The contrast from the beginning of the season where you're a piece of shit, and I know we had the talk at the end of last episode before we got into John Cena beautifully playing the piano. They had a bit of a thing there, and she doesn't think that about him anymore. But again, the way she went to bat for him, there was just something so wonderful about that. She was so angry at Leota. She couldn't really understand. I think everyone knows, despite Peacemaker, as much as we can empathize with him, feel sorry for him or whatever, he's still a bit of a jackass, despite how much of a bit of a jackass he is. And I like how James Gunn trickled that in towards the end when he was praying to God, for example. Just cutting to that, what I mean by jackass is he still was just like, I feel so bad leaving him in my dad's garage for 4 years. I could have just got with an ugly girl and who would have done anything for me. And he's admitting he would have taken advantage. But you can see in his mind, he's not really thinking about how that actually is or sounds. But I'm sure from what we know about Peacemaker, if somebody explained that to him, he'd be like, yeah, maybe you do have a point kind of thing. So this is what I mean. James Gunn manages to kind of decorate this Christmas tree, if you will, with all kinds of different baubles. So it's a weird analogy, but there's comedy there. There's the emotional depth to this character that we've learned to love throughout this series because of, like, you know, there's a lot to Peacemaker's history. Yet as much as we're really enjoying him as a character, he's still not exactly the most stand-up guy. And again, the reason why I kind of went into that mini tangent there is because Harcourt has realized that. Initially, with comments like he made when he was praying to God for Eagly, he comes across as a piece of shit, as Harcourt deemed him to be. But when you get to know him a little bit, you know there's that depth to him that she is identified as much as us as the audience. And again, it just felt really good seeing her confront Leota here. Leota obviously is tearing herself up about it. In this moment as well, it's revealed to Harcourt that she is indeed Amanda Waller's daughter. Now, I have to admit, this isn't like a disappointment or anything like that. I just thought that it'd be more of a bigger deal. But obviously, when we had Clemson come in as well, he was just like, yeah, I already know. You really think I wouldn't do a background check? But the only person to be surprised, I guess, right now is Harcourt. I guess the revelation, I was just surprised to learn that it was mainly just Harcourt. I thought it'd be like a big thing where everyone was like, oh, you? But at the same time, this episode had a lot of other things to get through. And on the bottom line, that revelation, how much is it really going to add to the story at the end of the day? So it makes sense that what we got out of the reveal was what we got. Talking about how this episode was littered with emotional moments, yet a lot of comedic moments. We revisit Judo Master, who's just chilling, eating his bag of chips, and we have two jackasses just taking the piss out of him, like calling him a leprechaun or something, and jumping to that moment where he was just completely handing their asses to them. That was so funny when he like smacked him in the throat and he was doing that little dance. It's brilliant. The only thing I'm actually wondering is, what was he really going to say? Because if we think about it, you know, back when he got shot, he was like, you don't understand, the butterflies, and then Leota shoots him. Well, he was working with Goth, the queen. So the thing is, I thought they were going to go down more of a route of where he was trying to, there was going to be a big reveal where all of the butterflies weren't actually here to hurt people or kill people. They just want refuge or something. And I assumed Judo Master was supporting that. Well, we know that the Queen's plans are quite diabolical. They're not really good intentions. So does that mean, as a result, that Judo Master was supporting her taking over the Earth? Because, again, this whole mission is to thwart the alien invasion, because, as they keep saying, if we don't kill the cow by the end, then we won't really be here in a few weeks or a month or whatever for those nurses later on to remember our faces, because they'll be dead. So, again, unless Judo Master is a butterfly, which I assume he's not, and I'm pretty sure he isn't, by the way, then I don't get why he was rallying towards the butterflies, unless maybe they convinced him that their agenda wasn't quite what he thought it was, and maybe that they were all more like Clemson Man. Back into the main action, guys. We have them in the van rocking out. Again, this is not only just funny seeing Vigilante and John Cena's Peacemaker just bro out, but also, again, the layered kind of flashbacks to him and his brother just kind of hit me in the feels there. We have White Dragon tracking him via the Peacemaker helmet. I mean, of course, he designed it, so it makes sense. And I really enjoyed all of this. The action was really cool. The jetpack, I thought the CGI was pretty damn decent. The way he came into the side of the van, completely decimated it. They're like, what the hell is going on? And that's when he bursts through with his little charged gauntlets, if you will. He's like, what's going on? What I should have done a long time ago. And Vigilante, what an MVP of this episode. Protecting his friends at any cost. I mean, his friend mainly. I'm sure he wouldn't care if John died. I mean, actually, maybe not, considering he does acknowledge that they've got a bit of a back and forth towards the end of this episode. But yeah, he just got the P90, started shooting him, released the grenade, and he's just like, there's no wrong time to rock, and then and again, I love even in that moment, even Peacemaker viewed that he could get caught in that explosion, wanted to go after him, but John was just like, no, we kind of need to get out of here whilst we can. We have Vigilante, he seems to be okay, and it's just so funny at the same time. Of course, the jackasses, the goons of White Dragon left the keys in the car, and you just see Vigilante get in there and just take off, but obviously he kind of passed out at the wheel from the damage he sustained from that grenade, or maybe he's just in shock and he passed out from that. I love how the Peacemaker helmet, I thought it was going to be put on eagly, but then I just did think that helmet's way too big for him to fly around. But then, of course, we all know James Gunn loves raccoons, and it was attached on a string to a raccoon, and we have Peacemaker's face all scratched up. And this next bit really actually made me sad, because one of my things, again, this show has subverted a lot of people's expectations. Not as much as mine, in the sense of, I didn't go into it thinking, oh, like, yeah, Peacemaker kind of thing, like, this is gonna be crap. But, like, I just didn't really have any expectations. Let alone, I didn't think I'd be too attached to the team. From what we saw in the Suicide Squad, I thought they were decent, they were funny, but them being in their own show, I didn't really know what to make of it. And in this moment, with what happened to Clemson, I felt really bad. Now, Clemson was in the apartment by himself, as we know. Leota and Harcourt were outside, so the police all storm in, the Queen Butterfly, literally the Queen Bee, and he says, I'm proud to have had you on my team. Finish the job. And oh man, I just felt so bad, because I really like him. I like all of the characters. John is fantastic and hilarious. Harcourt has this hilarious nature to her, but also this tenacity that I love, the badassery. Clemson, it was just a badass. I loved his character and how he was a freaking alien at the same time, but one of them who was the good ones, who didn't want the alien invasion. Like, there's so much to love about these characters. And oh man, the fact that they had to kill him. So the Queen Bitch came in, shall I say, shot him, didn't realize he was a butterfly immediately, but then we also have the actual Clemson Butterfly coming out. And that's when the Queen, as we know, grabbed him and said, and we learned the name of the butterfly that was in Clemson, and his name is Iknobluk, or whatever it was. And she says, you could have just joined us. And that's when she crushes him. You hear a little screech from the butterfly. And I was literally like, you know, Darth Vader at the end of Revenge of the Sith, like, no. But because I'm being serious, by the way, I was really sad. Not to mention, when Harcourt came in with Leota, we heard a little screech. I thought that was it, but then I thought, is there a little inkling of hope? But no, it was more of like a goodbye. And this is what I mean by how I started off this video. James Gunn knew what he was doing to us. When the little freaking Clemson Butterfly freaking pincer like reached out and Harcourt put her little finger there, and how sad she was, and how sad we're all feeling, I'm sure. That was just breaking my heart. I know I'm just regurgitating what you already know at this point, but damn, Clemson, why did you really have to go? Never thought I'd feel so sad about an alien butterfly dying. I do want to mention as well, this could be a slight foreshadowing here, and I could be wrong, but given the monumental task they have in the next episode, going against all those butterflies protecting the cow, we did have that moment where the right hand to the detective says, you murdered him. And she said he was a warrior, the others will have no chance of stopping us without him. So I get that she explained it to them, but they seemed a bit rubbed the wrong way for him being murdered by the Queen. Now, this makes me think that maybe... No, I don't think so. Like, if they would turn against the Queen, then they're kind of ensuring their own race's death, I suppose. It just made me think, could this foreshadow some butterflies going like Clemson, I suppose, not wanting to wipe out the human race? And maybe it could be achieved where they don't get fully destroyed, but some of them agree to live here, like Clemson would have, but without taking over. Like, as Clemson said, that was the original plan, to just kind of chill here, and because they enjoyed it here. So that might be a foreshadowing for that. I do want to bear that in mind. Instead of them going in their next episode all guns blazing, like they will do, but it might not end in the way you think, with them actually decimating every last butterfly until they're all eradicated. But of course, with one of my favorite things, as I prefaced in this review, emotion mixed with comedy and whatnot, freaking Judo Master comes in after such a sad moment to just completely flip your emotions, you know, on the other side of things. This was just hilarious. Harcourt, the way it was filmed, I thought was really badass. The camera movement, again, I'm a big fan of the long shots, the cameraman kind of moving at the same time around like 180 degrees to kind of get that following the character feel. Just a sad moment mixed with a crazy situation, and I don't really know what more to add on to that. It really speaks for itself. After getting in the car and learning that Vigilante, because he thought they were expensive, put the other Peacemaker helmets in the trunk of the car, so that means that they knew where they were again. Of course, Vigilante. Yeah, I know you're well-intentioned, I suppose, but, you know, you keep cocking up like this. But this is where he goes to toss them, but it's too late. They find him, so Peacemaker starts getting pursued, and this is where some real shit goes down. Some really, really, well, awesome stuff, but sad stuff. So they start piling up on him. It looks like it might be over here and then. And when we started to see them spray bullets at Eagly, I was like, no. Do not do it. And then they did like a point of view from Eagly going towards White Dragon, and I was like, no, no. And then he gets flopped, and I thought, okay, I hope he's just knocked out, and it turns out he's okay, but damn. And then you get into a bit of the monologue, I suppose, from a White Dragon, with just the way he views things. So he's just like, 40 years ago, God challenged me as he did Abraham, and he was too weak to listen, so yeah, he wanted to kill him back then, but he basically didn't, so that's why it's so easy for him to do it now. And that's when Adrian Chase, the Vigilante, jumps in. As a lot of you called out, there's gaps in between the armor, and that obviously somewhat disabled him. Again, MVP of this episode, Adrian Chase. I'm sure a lot of the Vigilante stands out there will be going nuts for this episode. And honestly, I thought like anything could happen in these moments. This is what I love so much about this episode as well, because he gets tossed aside, and then you have all the guns in his face from White Dragon's goons, and I thought, damn, they're actually gonna kill Adrian Chase, like, damn. But that's when John, of course, frickin' James Gunn gives John another badass moment. He frickin' chainsawed a gorilla, and now he brings a P90 spraying all of the goons, which obviously saves Adrian Chase and Peacemaker. So I love how John gets these moments and where it's just like he doesn't, or the audience doesn't feel like he can do much, especially the character himself. And it's this act of courage and hilarious comedy, and where he's just like, you know, oh man, it's just this episode. And what more can I say? I know I keep repeating myself, but hilarious, mixed with the emotionally charged moment where Peacemaker finally lets out what he's been feeling his whole life. He charges his father as his gauntlet charged energy things fail, takes the opportunity, and as he was smacking him in the face, he put onto him that you killed my brother, you killed Keith. And again, it wasn't just how this was a good payoff for what we've experienced in the development so far and all the context that has been subtly weaved throughout multiple episodes, but John Cena himself, it wouldn't have been sold as well if it wasn't for him. He needed to be capable of a certain level of pulling this off with his acting chops, and he did a home run. He really did a home run. We had that moment, of course, when like he was flexing on him after they're saying, oh, you can't do this, you know, I own you, you always come, and then bang, he shot him in the head. And you know that was really difficult for Peacemaker to do, because as much as he's known this his whole life, and as much as he's grown up with this feeling that he knows his dad is a dick and he shouldn't be treating him this way, it also broke him, because despite how he's been treated his whole life, a kid at the end of the day only wants a connection and acceptance from a father who is somewhat disowned, well, not somewhat, but has disowned and rejected them their whole life. That's why when in the first episode they're in the apartment, he's just trying to make him laugh and smile and just have some kind of bond there. So you can just see all of these streams of nuanced and layered moments all coming and weaving into kind of one moment that it just kind of cripples you in that moment on behalf of the character. And again, we're just seeing John Cena just eyes teared up, crying. And of course, again, James Gunn does it. We have Vigilante saying, dude, kind of weird time to do your face exercises, man. And it's just like, God damn it, Adrian. I love it, but God damn it. I would honestly ramble and ramble about this moment and how good it was. But what I want to leave it off on is that this is development in the show done right. This is a payoff that, for a good payoff, you always need that setup. And if it's not there, you just do not really get it. And this was achieved to a level of what you could say personifies extreme satisfaction and then some. We had some more extra moments between Leota and Harcourt there. This was really nice, you know, because she was talking just about Wall, how she doesn't trust anyone and maybe this isn't for her. She's not cut out for this, but Harcourt kind of bolsters her in that moment saying, you're actually kind of good at the job, you know? We have John ring her because meanwhile we have Vigilante being the way he is, pointing a freaking P90 at these nurses because they've seen his face. And I love how he, as John points out, is compassionate about, well, okay, he gets convinced not to kill them, but he was like, you know, we shouldn't use masking tape because it could hurt when they rip it off. So you're compassionate about that, but not about brutally murdering them. That is the charm of this character. The part with Peacemaker praying to Eagly, I kind of went over earlier how it also nicely kind of sums up this character in terms of you feel bad for him. You know, he's innocently well-intentioned, but kind of unbeknownst to him a little bit dickish. But this was also beautiful in the sense of just Eagly somewhat coming to life or recovering, you could say, and Leota just witnessing it all. And they added that nice little flashback in how she thought it was complete bullshit as to how an eagle could hug a human. And here it is, happening again. Peacemaker got the selfie he wanted as well. That's when they somewhat, I feel like, nominate Harcourt as the new leader that they trust, and that's when she starts doing a little breakdown on how the butterflies can drink their water and everything like that, but their food source doesn't sustain them, so they need to take out the cow in the cavern beneath the ranch. And I just felt like the team is back, baby, albeit it isn't quite because of how we know how Peacemaker is feeling, especially that moment in the van afterwards, and where we have Leota apologizing to Peacemaker, but kind of almost like a child. And this is what I mean by his dickish ways. I feel like his mental maturity is a bit more younger than what he is, because he's like, you know, forget it, I don't give a fuck. But you can clearly tell in somewhat of a childish way that when he says, I can't wait till this is over so I don't have to see your stupid dumb face again, he's really just like a kid masking a bit of his sadness through using insults like that. And I hope that they do really lay all their cards out on the table and just kind of hug and make up, you know? And also the walk to the van, the lineup walk, that reminded me of the Suicide Squad. Even Eagly reminded me of, like, I guess the weasel version, the animal of the lineup. That was absolutely brilliant. And then it actually panned to the cow that they're milking for the amber fluid. And again, of course, James Gunn knew what he was doing here. I know you're probably sick of me saying it by now, but I felt sorry for the damn thing. I felt sorry. It was cute. It was hideously cute. And, oh, man, you know there's going to be jokes about that next episode. Maybe, maybe not, but, like, to me, I look at that thing and I just feel bad for it. It's just strung up there being, like, rinsed, so to speak. And it's just, like, big eyes. They want to add a little bit of a grotesque element to it at the same time, but then it has like a little singular tooth in the middle, kind of reminding me of some kind of creature from Doctor Who from years and years back. But man, what a good episode. Can't wait to get into the next episode. That, you know, at the end, as usual, there is a trailer, and it looks like things are going to get chaotic. Maybe you're seeing a little brief teaser of that on screen. Also, the little cutout after credits bit was hilarious with Locke, the police captain. That was just hilarious, seeing the butterflies, you know, just attempting to like blend in, but getting really awkward about it. Anyway, guys, let me know your thoughts down in the comments below of this spectacular episode. I just feel so high of energy just talking about it. I want to know your theories going into the next episode as well. Man, as you can tell, I can't get the smile off my face having just seen it. So I'm gonna love you and leave you now, guys. Just like the video if you did enjoy hanging out with me today talking about it. Do subscribe if you want more breakdowns and recaps and reviews just like this of future episodes of other TV and also movies out there. Follow me on Twitter, follow me on Instagram. Links as always are in the comments and description down below. But thank you so much for watching. I hope you all have a lovely rest of your day, and I'll see you 11th Street kids in the next video. Goodbye.